Sticks and Schemes. Chapter 1. The Name the Forest Choose. Gray Hollow was the kind of town that measured time in seasons and silence. The mill had closed 10 years ago, and the only thing that still ran on schedule was the school bus, wheezing down Main Street at 7:14 every morning. Rain or shine, people stayed because leaving felt like admitting defeat, and they spoke in low voices because loud ones carried too far in the valley. There were 2 maps of Gray Hollow. The first hung in the schoolhouse, laminated and cheerful, with the river a bright blue ribbon, and the black woods a neat green smudge labeled State Forest. No camping. The second map existed only in whispers and in the margins of children's notebooks. A single circle, drawn in pencil, deep in that green smudge. The glade. Mara lived in the yellow house at the end of Pine. Her mother worked nights at the diner and slept days with the curtains drawn. She was a thin woman who moved like she was conserving energy. And she had rules. Don't be late. Don't lie to me. Don't go in the woods. Why not? Mara asked once, when she was 9 and still thought, why not was a valid argument. Her mother had been peeling potatoes. She didn't look up, because it listens, and it remembers. Mara rolled her eyes. Adults said things like that when they didn't have real answers. But later that night, she woke to the sound of her mother crying in the kitchen, very quietly, with the back door open and the dark of the trees visible beyond the screen. The forest didn't look evil. That was the problem. It looked patient. The trees at the edge were normal. Pine, birch, a few oaks. But 20 yards in, the bark darkened. Not brown, black like wet charcoal and smooth. The air changed there too. Cooler, still, as if the wind stopped to listen before going any further. Kids dared each other to touch the black bark. Most didn't. The ones who did came back with their fingertips stained, and a look in their eyes that made their mothers pull them close and not ask questions. Mara was 12, the summer she decided her mother was wrong about everything. Chapter 2. The crueler sort of game. It started with boredom, which in Gray Hollow was less an emotion and more a weather system. It settled over the town in June and didn't lift until the first frost. There were 7 of them, not because they liked each other, but because there were only about 20 kids in town, and they were the ones old enough to be out after dark and young enough to still want to be. Mara was the one who noticed things. Jonah was the one who lied about them. The twins, Elsie and Emmett, moved as a unit, finishing each other's thoughts, and sometimes each other's sentences in a way that made adults uncomfortable. Tomas read books about things that weren't real and spoke only when he had something to add. Leela collected things, bottle caps, bird skulls, the shed skin of a snake she found behind the school, and kept them in a cigar box she never let anyone open. Ben was 10, tag-along, desperate, always half a step behind, laughing too loud at jokes he didn't get. They met at the drainage culvert behind the school, because it was the only place that wasn't someone's yard. Jonah had a pack of cigarettes he'd stolen from his uncle. He offered them around like a king distributing coins. Only Tomas took one, and he coughed until his eyes watered. "It's in my attic," Jonah said, flicking ash into the dark water. "Behind the wall. I found it when I was looking for the Christmas lights." "What is?" Mara asked. "A book." "Not a book. A journal. The cover's bark. Real bark. And the pages, some of them are stuck together." Leela's eyes lit up. "With what?" Jonah shrugged, but he wouldn't meet her eyes. "I don't know. It's old." He brought it the next night, wrapped in a towel. It smelled like dirt, and something sweet and wrong, like fruit left too long in the sun. The handwriting on the first pages was neat, a girl's hand. June 3rd, Mama says not to go past the creek. June 11th, I went past the creek. Then the writing got messier. Then it stopped being words at all and became drawings. Circles, sticks, faces with no eyes. On the last page that wasn't stuck, there were instructions. Not in the neat hand, not in the messy hand. In a third hand, heavy and deliberate, the letters pressed deep into the paper. 7 sticks, 7 trees, 7 nights, 1 vow. "It's a game," Jonah said, and laughed. It was a short, sharp sound, like Bloody Mary. You say the words, and nothing happens. But Leela was already tracing the drawing of the circle with her finger, and Ben was watching Jonah's face, waiting to see if he was serious. Mara felt a cold spot open in her stomach. She thought of her mother, crying in the kitchen with the door open to the dark. "It's just a story," she said, and heard how thin her voice sounded. Chapter 3, 7 sticks, 7 trees. The instructions were specific in the way that only things that want to be found are specific. The sticks had to come from the 7 trees that ringed the glade. The journal named them and drew them, small and careful. Oak, ash, yew, birch, willow, alder. And the 7th, which had no name, only a drawing of a tree with bark like spilled ink. They had to be snapped, not cut, on nights when the wind died. "You'll know," the journal said. "The world holds its breath." You had to carve a name, not your real name. The name you are when you are alone. Jonah said it was bullshit, but he was the one who suggested they start that night. The oak was easy. It stood just inside the tree line, big and ordinary. Mara broke the branch. It snapped with a clean, dry crack. She felt nothing and was relieved. The ash was harder to find. Tomas led them, using the drawing in the journal like a map. The tree was taller than the others, and when Mara snapped the branch, thick sap welled up, dark and slow. It smelled like pennies. It got on her fingers and wouldn't wash off. Not with water from their bottles, not with spit and the sleeve of her shirt. The third night, they didn't have to find the U. The wind stopped while they were still on the road. A sudden, total stillness that made their ears pop. The air felt heavy. Elsie grabbed Emmett's hand. He let her. The yew branch broke with a sound like a bone. By the fifth night, they weren't talking on the walk-in. The willow's branches hung low, and they had to duck under them. The leaves brushed their faces, dry as paper. When Leela snapped her branch, something moved in the branches above them. A rustling that was too slow to be a bird. The alder was by the creek. The water was black and didn't reflect the moon. The seventh tree was not on any map. They found it because the journal's drawing was exact. The way the roots broke the surface, the knot in the trunk shaped like a closed eye. The bark was warm. Ben touched it and jerked his hand back. "It's alive," he whispered. "Don't be stupid," Jonah said, but he didn't touch it. They each broke a branch. The wood was soft. It gave way without a sound, and when they pulled their hands back, the broken ends were wet. They carved their names by flashlight, huddled together. Mara carved marrow. Jonah carved grin. Elsie carved echo. Emmett carved empty. Tomas carved still. Leela carved needle. Ben, hesitating, carved little. The words looked wrong in the wood. Too deep, as if the sticks wanted them there. Chapter 4, The Covenant. The seventh night was the coldest, though it was still July. They went to the glade because the journal told them to, and because not going felt worse than going. The glade was a perfect circle of flat ground, as if the trees had agreed to step back. The grass didn't grow there. The ground was bare earth and fine, gray ash. They built a small fire in the center, more for light than warmth. The flames were low and blue at the edges. The smoke didn't rise. It pooled around their ankles. They arranged the sticks in a circle, points inward. Jonah had brought a tin cup of ash from his fireplace. They smeared it on their faces, under their eyes, across their cheeks. It was Leela's idea. Like warriors, she said. Her smile was too bright. They stood. They held hands, which felt childish and necessary. The sticks lay between their feet. Jonah read the words from the journal. His voice shook only on the last line. By stick and word and willing hand, we make this circle. We give our names. To never leave. To never bow. They repeated it, one by one, then all together. Their voices were small in the dark. To never leave. To never bow. The fire sputtered. The wind, which had been dead all night, sighed once through the trees, and then the forest exhaled. It was a sound, but also a pressure, a change in the air that made their ears ring. The fire went out. The flashlights flickered and died. In the sudden dark, Mara felt something look at her, not with eyes, with attention. a vast, cold attention, turning toward them like a head turning in sleep. Someone gasped. Someone, Ben, made a small, wet sound. When Tomas got his flashlight working again, the circle of sticks was still there, and something was standing just outside it. Chapter 5. It wears skin. It was tall. That was the first thing. Taller than any of them. Taller than their fathers. Thin but not frail. Its limbs were too long, and they bent in places that weren't joints. Its skin was the color of the seventh tree's bark. Not black exactly. The color of something that had been in the dark so long it had forgotten light. It had a face. It was trying to have a face. 2 dark holes where eyes should be. A suggestion of a nose. And a mouth. A wide, red mouth. Pulled open at the corners by black thorns that pierced the skin and held it in that shape. A smile nailed into place. It didn't move. It just stood there, head tilted, as if listening to a sound only it could hear. The thorns in its mouth glistened. Ben started to cry. He didn't sob. The tears just ran down his face, cutting clean lines through the ash. The thing's head twitched toward the sound. The smile widened. One of the thorns, at the very corner of its mouth, worked loose and fell. It hit a stone with a tiny, clear tink. Jonah dropped Mara's hand. "We should go," he whispered. "We should go now." They backed away. The thing didn't follow. It just watched them go, its head turning slowly to keep them in view. They ran when they reached the trees. They ran until their lungs burned and their legs gave out, and they collapsed in the road, gasping. The black woods, a solid wall behind them. Ben was with them. He was breathing hard, his face streaked, but he was there. He was there. "See," Jonah said, trying to laugh. "Nothing happened. It was just, I don't know, an animal, a trick of the light." Mara looked at her hands. The sap from the ash stick was still on her fingers. It looked black in the moonlight. Ben didn't say anything. He just stared at the trees and shivered. Chapter 6, the first. Ben didn't come to school on Monday. By Tuesday, his mother was at the school, her eyes red, asking if anyone had seen him. By Wednesday, there were flyers on the telephone poles. A school photo of Ben smiling, a gap-toothed smile. The words missing in bold, black letters. The police came. They talked to the kids. They were gentle. They asked about the woods. Jonah lied. He lied smoothly, easily, the way he always did. "We were at the culvert. We were smoking. Ben got scared and ran home. That's the last we saw him." Mara said nothing. Leela said nothing. The twins held hands under the table and said nothing. Tomas stared at his shoes. The police searched the woods. Volunteers came from the next town over. They walked in lines, calling Ben's name. They found nothing. No backpack, no shoe, no sign that a 10-year-old boy had ever been there. On Saturday, Mara couldn't stand it anymore. She went back alone in daylight. She told herself she was just going to the edge. She found the glade. She didn't mean to. She was walking, and then the trees opened up, and there it was. The circle of sticks was there. 6 of them. The 7th space was empty. In the center of the circle, standing upright in the dirt, as if it had been planted, was Ben's stick. The word little was carved on it, deep and black. Mara picked it up. It was cold, colder than the air. She turned it over in her hands. On the back, where the wood was smooth, there was a new carving, a single word, in the same heavy hand as the journal. Taken. She dropped the stick. She ran. She didn't stop until she was on the road. And then she threw up in the ditch. She didn't tell anyone. Who would believe her? And what could they do? Chapter 7, The Unraveling. It didn't come for them in the woods. It came for them at home, in their beds, in the bright safety of their kitchens. It came for them where they were alone. Leela was first. Her mother found her sitting on her bed, laughing. Not giggling, laughing deep and breathless, her shoulders shaking. Her eyes were wide and dry. Leela, honey, what's funny? Leela didn't answer. She just laughed. She laughed through dinner, while her parents exchanged worried glances. She laughed while her father called the doctor. She laughed until her voice broke. And then she kept laughing, a hoarse, rasping sound, until blood flecked her lips. She finally stopped when she passed out. When she woke up in the hospital, the laughter was gone, and so was her voice. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. The doctors said it was trauma, hysteria. Mara went to see her. Leela was sitting up in bed, her cigar box on the table beside her. Mara opened it. Inside, on a bed of cotton, was Leela's stick. The word needle was gone. In its place was a patch of wood that was smooth and black and shiny, like a scar. Leela watched her. She didn't blink. Emmett was next. He woke up screaming. His mother ran in and turned on the light. His bed was covered in spiders. Not 1 or 2, dozens. Big black house spiders, all dead. Their legs curled tight to their bodies. They were arranged in a circle around his pillow. Emmett wouldn't let anyone touch him. He rocked back and forth, staring at the empty circle on his sheet. He didn't sleep for 3 nights. On the 4th night, his mother found his bed empty and the back door open. They found his shoes by the tree line. They found his stick leaning against his bedroom door. The word empty was still there, but the wood around it was gray, as if it had been burned from the inside out. Elsie stopped speaking in sentences. She would only repeat the last word anyone said to her. "Are you okay, Elsie? Elsie, do you want some water? Water?" She said it flatly, without expression, until people stopped talking to her, because it was like talking to an echo in an empty room. Chapter 8, the pack devours. Tomas tried to fight it. He was the smart one. He went to the library. He looked up curses and folklore and ways to break a promise. He found nothing about sticks and circles and things that wear skin. He tried to destroy his stick. He put it in the fireplace. The flames licked around it, but the wood wouldn't catch. He took it out. It was cool to the touch. The word still was deeper than before. He tried to bury it in the backyard. He dug a hole 3 feet deep and dropped it in. The next morning, it was on his pillow. The dirt on it was still damp. He tried to leave. He packed a bag and told his mother he was going to stay with his aunt in the city. He got on the bus. The bus drove out of town, down the highway, and broke down right at the tree line. The driver said it was the engine. Tomas got off and started walking. He walked for hours, the sun moving across the sky. And when he finally stopped, exhausted, he was standing in the glade. The circle of sticks was there, 5 of them now. The 6th space waited. He went home. Jonah fell apart loudly. He told everyone it was a prank, that Ben had run away, that Leela was faking, that Emmett was crazy. He smiled all the time, a wide, frantic grin that showed too much teeth. "See," he'd say, grinning, "I'm fine. We're fine. It's fine." His mother found him sleepwalking 3 nights in a row. She'd wake up and find him standing in the yard in his pajamas, facing the woods, his stick clutched in his hand. He'd be whispering, to never leave, to never bow, to never leave, to never bow. She'd lead him back to bed. He never remembered in the morning. Mara watched it all. She went to school. She did her homework. She ate the food her mother put in front of her. She felt like she was made of glass. She was marrow, and she felt hollowed out, as if something was already living in the space where she used to be, eating her slowly from the inside. Chapter 9, the last. By October, the town was quiet in a new way. People didn't let their children out after dark. They locked their doors. They stopped talking about the missing boy, the silent girl, the boy who walked into the woods. Mara was the only one left who was still mostly herself. She knew it was coming for her. She could feel it, a cold spot at the base of her skull that got bigger every day. She dreamed of the glade. She dreamed of the circle. She dreamed of the thing, wearing Ben's face, holding out its hand. She was tired of being afraid. She went back on the last night of October. The air was crisp. The moon was full. The black woods were a wall of shadow. The glade was waiting. The circle of sticks stood in the mud, 6 of them. Her space was empty. The thing was there. It wasn't wearing skin anymore. Or maybe it was wearing it perfectly. It looked like Ben. It had his eyes, his hair, the slight gap between his front teeth, but its skin was too smooth. And when it smiled, Mara saw the faint, dark lines at the corners of its mouth, where the thorns had been. It held out its hand. In its palm lay her stick. The word marrow was carved deep, and dark sap welled in the grooves, slow and thick. "You promised," it said. Its voice was Ben's voice, but underneath it was another sound, like wind through dry leaves. To never leave, to never bow. Mara looked at the stick. She looked at the thing wearing her friend's face. She thought of her mother, crying in the kitchen. She thought of Leela, silent in her hospital bed. She thought of Ben, 10 years old and wanting to belong. She was so tired. She reached out and took the stick. It was warm. It pulsed once in her hand, like a heartbeat. The thing smiled, a real smile this time. No thorns needed. "Good," it said. Mara stepped into the circle. She placed her stick in the empty space. The 7th stick stood upright, as if it had grown there. The circle was complete. Chapter 10, where vows were made. They don't search the woods for missing children anymore in Gray Hollow. They put up flyers for a week, and then they take them down. They tell themselves the kids ran away. It's easier if you go to the glade now, and no one does. You'll find 7 sticks standing in a circle in the gray earth. The names are still there, carved deep: marrow, grin, echo, empty, still, needle, little. The wood is black and smooth and untouched by weather. No moss grows on them. No insect touches them. And if you go on a night when the wind dies, when the world holds its breath, you'll hear them. Children's voices, thin and reedy, coming from the trees, from the ground, from the air itself. To never leave, to never bow. Over and over, they say the forest chews its name, that it doesn't let go of the things it takes, that it keeps them and uses them and feeds them to the dark. So wander not where silence teems, beware the price of sticks and schemes, for games once played in dusk's deceit will pull you down and never repeat. And if you are walking in the woods and you see a stick on the ground, black, smooth, warm to the touch, leave it there. Walk away. Do not pick it up. Do not carve your name. Some games once started must be finished, and some players never get to stop playing.